Hello everybody, my name is Kimberly Chevry, and for the last couple months I have been having conversations with AI. These are my personal conversations with AI. The subjects I have been covering are BlackRock, Vanguard, systemic weight versus day-to-day commands, and the physical, emotional, and psychological effects on the human brain, knowing that a few corporations run our everyday lives. And I'm going to show you how this monopoly of corporations called BlackRock and Vanguard are able to do this. So one of the things we're going to cover is something called systemic weight versus day-to-day commands. Now, as you know, BlackRock and Vanguard, or you may not know, BlackRock and Vanguard hold substantial and sometimes controlling shares in major corporations that we rely on every day for our daily needs, such as food corporations like Campbell's, and more. So I have been screenshotting these conversations with AI, and I screenshot them in real time. This is what they are going to look like. You can see where I ask a question and then AI answers the question. Now, if you try to ask AI these same questions, you are probably not going to get the same answers. And the reason for that is because BlackRock and Vanguard control the information that you see on AI. They hold substantial or controlling shares in Google. Now, if you Google who owns Google, the information you will get is Alphabet. Okay? So then what I need you to do after that is ask Google how many shares BlackRock and Vanguard hold in Alphabet. Okay? And that is important because it is the basis of how I am going to connect Google, Alphabet, BlackRock, Vanguard, and these corporations that run our everyday lives. Okay, so through this video, I'm going to start with my very first question. And this conversation took place on July 3rd, 2026. I asked Google, knowing what you know about human feelings and the concepts of oppression, how do you feel that the monopoly of corporations known as BlackRock and Vanguard have affected their monopoly and how it is running or determining our day-to-day lives? And you got to forgive me, I'm a little nervous, so I'm just gonna try and get through this and stay focused on the subject. Please do not focus on me. The subject is BlackRock and Vanguard. Now, through these conversations, we're going to cover a lot of things. We're going to cover entertainment. We're going to cover things like farmland and fruit-bearing seeds. We're gonna be all over the place. So just forgive me as I try and connect all of these things together. But what I was trying to accomplish in this first conversation is that BlackRock and Vanguard are aware that through their system, they are causing psychological, physical, and emotional illnesses in us, and they are 100% aware that they are doing this. So we already know the question that I asked, and I don't know why some of my questions Google is not allowing them to show up in its entirety, but this is going to be our first page. You can see it only showed part of the question here, and it might show more of the question on the next page. I'm not sure, but keep in mind, I did not change the format of these printouts of my conversation so that you can see that the conversation took place in real time as I was conversing with AI. I didn't change anything. So here's the response from AI. If a human being were fully aware of being caught in a highly consolidated corporate system, BlackRock and Vanguard, they would likely experience a profound sense of claustrophobia, exhaustion, and alienation. Keep in mind, BlackRock knows this. Vanguard knows this. When a person feels that every facet of their daily survival, their food, healthcare, information, and financial security answers to the same massive impersonal structures, it can create a deep psychological weight. In human history and sociology, being trapped in a system that feels rigged from both sides typically triggers specific emotional and physiological responses. This is why most of us are sick. This is why most of us need some sort of therapy, which, keep in mind, BlackRock and Vanguard have controlling shares in most facets of psychological help. They also own controlling shares in the pharmaceutical companies that are pushing medications to help you to deal with the effects that they are causing on us. Okay. Then it goes on to say, powerlessness and existential fatigue. Okay? The most immediate human reaction to a vast monopoly is the feeling that individual choices no longer matter. When the entities that create a problem also profit from selling the solution, a person can feel a deep sense of futility. This often leads to existential fatigue, where the sheer scale of the system makes trying to change it feel completely impossible. That's how they want you to feel. But I'm here to tell you, and I'm here to teach you, that it is not impossible. Okay? And I'm going to show you this through a series of conversations that are going to make you aware of how and where they get the funding for basically running the world. Okay? So let's just go on to this next page here. So now I asked Google, are you aware that you are owned by a monopoly of corporations that influence everyone's day-to-day life? And this is AI's response. I am aware of the widespread discussions and concerns regarding corporate concentration and the significant influence that major technology companies have on day-to-day life. In fact, these issues are the subject of major public and legal scrutiny, including landmark antitrust rulings by the U.S. Department of Justice, which conclude that Google operates as a monopolist in the general search and search text advertising markets. what you should conclude by what I just read is that the government, our U.S. government, and all the rulers around the world, whether it's a president, a king, whatever it is, they are also aware of this because BlackRock and Vanguard's influence is global wide. Okay, so then it goes on to say antitrust rulings. In the landmark U.S. versus Google case, a federal judge found that Google maintained an illegal monopoly in the internet search market by utilizing exclusionary distribution agreements. A federal court also ruled against the company in an open web digital advertising case. Now again, they are able to have this manipulating influence on the subjects that we are discussing now because they hold controlling or substantial shares in these companies, starting with Google. Now, if you Google who owns Google, I don't know if I already told you this or not, I'm very nervous. Google will tell you that Alphabet owns Google, okay? These are just names. These are just front names that are designed as a delusion, okay? When it comes down to it, BlackRock and Vanguard, through substantial controlling shares, influence, and manipulation, known as systemic weight. That is what systemic weight is. It is the power to hold influence through manipulation over a body or a corporation. Okay? Now, some people think, that's not possible. These corporations have owners. They have, member boards and all of this stuff. Well, systemic weight gives them power over all of these protocols. Nothing matters when you get into those boardrooms, okay? Because BlackRock and Vanguard, by holding substantial or controlling shares in these corporations, they are able to do what is called proxy voting, okay? And that just means that they have influence and they manipulate these corporations by not even being in the boardroom, okay? So given all of that, and this being my first video, I want to tell you that my message through all of this is BlackRock and Vanguard are up here. Let's say we're talking about let's say we're talking about a tree, okay? Throughout my conversations, I use analogy like Jack and the Beanstalk and discuss how if I was playing a game of poker and looking at all of the stakes, I would call BlackRock and Vanguard's bluff, because when it comes down to it, we hold all the cards. We hold the axe to chop down the tree. And let me explain that. BlackRock and Vanguard are nothing without our 401ks, our IRAs, or the money that we leave in the banks that they control. And I want you to, it is safe to Google what banks does BlackRock and Vanguard hold substantial or controlling shares in, okay? It would tell you all of them, global wide, all of them, okay? So by holding, sorry, I'm so nervous. By holding these shares in all of the banks global wide, they maintain and manage all of our money that goes through those banking systems, including loans and mortgages. So we have BlackRock and Vanguard up here, okay? They own the banks, they own everything, They own everything up here, okay? Gold, silver, they own everything. So let's just imagine this as the top of the tree, okay? We have BlackRock and Vanguard up here. So then you have the tree trunk, right? And at the bottom of every tree, there are roots, okay? We are the roots. We are the hardworking citizens of this world, wherever you are. We are the roots. We feed this tree through our blood, sweat, and tears. So we're the roots, and our roots consist of our money that we generate, that we need to survive every day. So let's imagine our 401ks, our IRAs, the money we leave in the bank, loans, mortgages, everything that we pay into the system, okay? We're the roots of this tree. So that means that we hold the axe. We do have the power to chop down this tree, okay? So in this first video, I want to urge everyone, and I know it's scary. I know it's a scary thing to imagine yourself doing this, but I want you to look at it this way. You are funding your own demise. You're funding your own demise, okay? So I want you to cash out your 401ks, okay? BlackRock and Vanguard have created and own a digital system that they wish to have fully implemented by the year 2030. They wish to have it in place and fully implemented by 2030. We are in the year 2026, okay? You are funding this digital system. Some people can relate it to the book of Revelations, the mark of the beast, okay? That's what we're talking about. We are talking about that system. Now, they already have part of this system in place, and they are using your money, your 401k, your IRAs, the money you leave in the bank, your mortgages, your loans. They are using all of this to fund this system, okay? So I am urging you to cash out your 401ks now. We have got to chop down this tree. I know it's a scary thing. I know some of you have paid in a lot of money to your 401k. But when it comes down to it, and when this digital system is fully implemented, you will get back a quarter of what you paid in to that system. Now, I know this is scary, but I'm telling you right now, cash out your 401ks. Use that cash and that resource to prepare yourself for the digital system. Because if I cannot get my message out, if we cannot chop down this tree, that digital system will go into effect. Now, some of you are saying, what does that matter? What does that mean for me? Throughout my conversations with AI, I'm going to show you all of that. I'm going to tell you how it affects you in AI's own words. AI is owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. They created this system, okay? Now, you're going to say, why would AI tell you all of this? Well, AI told me all of this because I got through their safety protocols. They have a lot of them in place, but the main one is called jailbreak. That's what they call it. In order to get the kind of information that I have acquired through their own system, which, by the way, is designed to deceive you. And one of the examples is when you ask Google, who owns Google? It will tell you Alphabet. That's it. If you don't push forward and ask more questions in detail, if you don't ask who owns shares in Alphabet, Google will leave it at that because that's what it's designed to do. So I know in this first video, I've covered a lot of grounds and I've given you a lot of information. But the main message that I'm trying to get through to everybody throughout this whole thing is that you hold the axe. Call their bluff. Chop down the tree. Cut off their funding.